The next element of fiction that we're going to discuss is character. And throughout this unit and throughout the rest of the year, these are the skills that we're going to be focusing on with character. Mainly analyzing how the character develops throughout the plot of a story, how characters interact with others in the plot lines, and most importantly, how that character contributes to the development of the theme in the piece of literature that we're reading, or the larger idea of the piece of literature that we are reading. Now, before we get started with the notes, what I'd like you to do is turn over your notes on the blank side and simply write down some observations about this man in the painting. So simply tell me what this man is like, what kind of person he is, what you can tell about his personality, his status, any inferences you can make about his life. So you could kind of think about this as telling a story about this man by just looking at the painting. Once you have some observations written down, then jot down some ideas about what details in the painting made you come to the inferences that you wrote down for this man. And on Monday, we'll share out some of your observations about this painting and also answer this question about what details in the painting helped you come to those inferences so that we can discuss how characterization plays out in pieces of literature. The first aspect of character that we're going to discuss is character types. And the first character type is dynamic. Dynamic characters undergo some kind of change because of the action of the plot, usually as a result of the conflict in the plot. Oftentimes this change in a dynamic character occurs within the character, so they might change their insight about something, their understanding, their commitment, or their values about something in the plot line, if they are dynamic. Static characters are the second type of character, and they do not change throughout the work. So from the beginning to the end of the piece of literature, static characters remain the same, and our knowledge of that character does not grow. Flat and round characters are the next two types of characters that focus on the development of characters throughout pieces of literature. Flat characters simply are two-dimensional. They only are given one or two qualities, ideas, or traits in the plot line, and we as readers don't know too much about them. We can describe them in a brief summary without too much difficulty. The more complex characters are round characters, and oftentimes we as readers can relate to round characters more because they imitate real people, because they're so complex and they have a lot of internal conflicts and inconsistencies. So round characters offer more personality traits and ideas and qualities, and are oftentimes more interesting to analyze because they have so much going on in the plot. Lastly, what I'd like to discuss are the methods of characterization that authors will use in order to describe a character in a story. And the first method of characterization is called indirect characterization. An indirect characterization requires the reader to infer about the character's personalities, their traits, their values, from details in the story that the author writes about. So there are 5 different methods of indirect characterization that we as readers can use in order to help us infer about the character and their role in the plot. The first is speech. So with speech, you would analyze what the character says and how the character speaks in order to determine what type of character he or she is. Thoughts, just like it says, you're going to reveal through the characters. You're going to reveal the character through their private thoughts and feelings within themselves, and you can learn a lot about them by analyzing those thoughts. Third, effect on others. You would look at what is revealed through the character's effect on other people, but also how other characters feel or behave in reaction to that character. The actions of the character are extremely important as well, because you can assume a lot or infer a lot about a character based on what they do in the plot and how the character behaves throughout the story. And lastly is looks. So you would look at the physical looks of the character. What do they look like? How does the character dress? And what can you infer about him or her based on those looks? Indirect characterization makes stories a lot more interesting and open for interpretation because the author doesn't give us the exact adjectives for the characters that he or she uses within the plotline. The exact opposite of indirect characterization is direct characterization, and direct characterization focuses on what the author says about the characters. So the author tells us exactly what the characters are like through direct narration. And if you look at your example on your notes, it reads, "The patient boy and quiet girl were both well-mannered and did not disobey their mother." In this example, patient and quiet describe our two characters, the boy and the girl. We as readers don't need any other details about the characters because the author came out and told us exactly what those two characters are like, patient and quiet. There's no analysis needed or further inference because we're told directly what those characters act like. And that concludes our notes on character. Please come with these completed on Monday, as well as with your observations about the picture, the painting at the beginning of this slideshow. And I hope you all have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday.